Hello and welcome back to the NFL DFS slate breakdown for Monday Night Football. We got the Lions at the 49ers. I think it's going to be a fun game. We got a 50.5 total, only a 3.5 spread, 3.5 favorites for the Lions. I'm your host, Tyler Weeman at FlatTyler83 on your DFS sites. Now, before we get into it, come join us at LineStar. Only $39.99 per month gets you access to all we do, all the props, all the DFS. You get it all for one low price. Now, let's jump in and check out what we have on this slate. So, as always, we will go position by position, starting at quarterback. And we got Brock Purdy and Jared Goff, two very good quarterbacks in this situation. I don't really love one more than the other. Also, it goes to show you in our projections. We have Brock Purdy at 0.2 less projection than Jared Goff. They're only a 400 difference as far as their salary. And so really comes down to the lineup and the game script you think is going to come in your lineup when choosing a quarterback. I think both guys are solid. Brock Purdy has been consistent all season long in that, low to mid-20s area, literally game after game all season, whereas Jared Goff has been a little more up and down. Most of the time, he's been in the mid to high teens, but there's ceiling games of 38 and 44 there, which just Brock Purdy has not done, or not even really been close. Brock his ceiling's been 27, 28. And so it does show us that the Lions and Jared Goff has a little more ceiling potential, but the consistency does go to the 49ers. And the reason for that, in my opinion, is when the Lions have not had to throw the ball, they haven't. They've just ran the ball down everybody's throats. Now, one little caveat to this is that we do have no David Montgomery in this spot. And without David Montgomery, the Lions last week went to throw the ball a little bit more. They threw the ball 32 times in a game that they handedly had it all game long. And simply put, they just don't want to give Jahmyr Gibbs too much work. He is getting most of the work. He was in 70% of the snaps, but they definitely are cautious about his workload, which means I think Jared Goff has a little bit more potential for his upper range of scores in this situation than the lower range. Now, let's get into the running back spot. So we got Jahmyr Gibbs. He's obviously an amazing play. Now, 49ers over the last 4 games have been giving up a little bit to the running backs. However, Bosa was back for them last week, and their defense as a whole was getting healthier. So I would look more at the season total numbers than the last 4. I expect that defense to play a little bit better than it has been recently. So on the season, they're allowing 97.9 yards per game on the ground, and then through the air, another 35.8, and then 0.8 touchdowns, 1 touchdown per week to the running back. Gibbs is obviously a very dynamic, explosive runner, and I think not considering him would be not the smartest thing. He's going to play a ton. When Montgomery's out in close games, he plays 70+% of the snaps, and that's going to be the situation here. He has a giant workload. He had 27 touches last week. Now, they really can't give him more than that, but the Lions are absolutely still needing to win this game. Even though they're 13-2, they got to win to set up next week's match against the Vikings for that first place in the NFC, which comes with a bye. So it is an important game with the Lions. I expect Gibbs to get as much workload as he can possibly handle. And with that, with how explosive he is, he's in an absolutely great spot to do well. Then on the other side, it does appear Isaac Guerendo is going to be back. When he has got a chance, he's crushed this season. All season long, he is crushed when getting a chance. And I think this is going to be no different. So I'm absolutely interested in Guerrero. The one thing I do have to point out, though, is the Lions' run D has been spectacular all season long, averaging only 68.2 yards per game on the ground. But over the last 4, they're giving up 56 yards through the air to go along with 1.3 touchdowns. This defense has got beat up all season long. They're super injured right now, and it does lead me to believe that Guerrero can get over on this defense and make it happen. Frankly, there's not many guys in this league that are as big and powerful as Guerrero with the 4.340. So I like Guerrero. Guerrero's in a great spot, and if he's going under owned, I would be hammering him. Outside of Guerrero, really not much to talk about here in the running back corps. So Craig Reynolds and Vaki for the Lions played very sparingly last game, and they dominated the game. They won by like 17. So I can't really see them having a huge role this week. And then on the San Francisco side, I don't think Patrick Taylor is going to see the field that much with Guerrero back. Juszczyk will be on the field, a decent amount here. But he pretty much is a touchdown or bust type situation. And $2,400 for him is pretty expensive for your showdown slates. Now, getting over to the wide receiver spot. Biggest thing I want to point out here is that Jauan Jennings is in an excellent matchup. Lions have been tough versus the wide receiver 1 or average, but wide receiver 2 have been getting over a little bit. So I am very interested in Jauan Jennings. He also has been extremely consistent getting targets week in and week out. I love the spot. The Lions are allowing 188 yards a game to the wide receiver and 1.3 touchdowns per game over the last 4. So definitely give me some Jauan Jennings, and I think he should be the highest owned. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 10.6K on the Lions side, is their highest owned wide receiver, and I think they should be. Now, 49ers have been average versus the wide receiver 1. I think the biggest thing for Amon-Ra St. Brown is he doesn't have that huge ceiling outcome if Jared Goff isn't slinging it. I think Jared Goff should be slinging in this game. He had 8 targets last week, had 18 the week before, 11 versus Jacksonville. And in the games that are more competitive and higher scoring is when Amon-Ra does good. It's really not surprising. But the more that Jared Goff has to throw, the better the week Amon-Ra can have. So if you're going to go with, Amon-Ra in a captain spot, I would probably pair him with Jared Goff because it likely means the team as a whole is passing a little bit more. And if you use Goff in the captain, I would most likely definitely have some Amon-Ra St. Brown on that lineup as well. They really just go hand in hand this year. And definitely interested in Amon-Ra, even though it is a tougher matchup, for Amon-Ra because that 49ers D is solid. Deebo Samuel is one that we really need to talk about. He finally snapped out of this trend of just very poor outings. And he did it on 7 receptions for 96 yards, 5 carries for 25 yards. Now, the thing I have to say here, I liked Deebo last week, and the whole reason I did is because Patrick Taylor, I just did not expect to get a ton of the workload. Now that Guerrero is back, he may not see 5 carries. He might see 2 or 3. But I still do think they will use Deebo as an extension of the running game, try and get the ball out quick to him, get him in some open space and see what he can do. Because of that, there's always upside with Deebo because he can break a long one. He is a great yak guy, and I'm interested in him. And if he goes under owned, I'm going to definitely have some. Next, we got Jameson Williams. Obviously, he has a big-time ceiling. He is, however, the wide receiver 2, and he can do a lot with a little targets, but he's got to break a big one. And the 49ers are a team that it's very, very hard to break a big one versus. I don't mind some Jameson, but I do much prefer Amon-Ra and Gibbs to Jameson. Tim Patrick is the clear-cut wide receiver 3 on this team now. And we've seen him used consistently. And this is a spot where I feel like those underneath routes are going to be very key for Goff to just try and, get first downs and keep moving the ball. So I am absolutely in on Tim Patrick. We do have him in a very tough matchup, though, as he is 8th on our team defense tool, but I got to be a little bit intrigued. Ricky Pearsall. So both these teams, the Lions and the 49ers, have pretty much just gone 3 wide. After 3 wide, the wide receiver 4 or 5, their snap counts fully drop off. Pearsall has been on the field a decent amount lately and definitely has some big play ability, but he hasn't really shown too much upside yet. Versus Tampa Bay, he went 4 for 73 and a touchdown. Versus Dallas, 4 for 38 and then a carry for 39 yards. But outside of that, has really, really been limited. And I don't expect a huge game out of him, but he is in a spot that I absolutely would be considering him as a lower-owned pivot. If he gets a touchdown, he's going to be optimal. And honestly, 7% is probably too low for a guy that's going to be on the field so much in a game environment that is likely high scoring. So I think we really do need to consider the 2 wide receiver 3s just because it is definitely a way to get a little bit different and save some salary on this slate. Now, getting into the tight end position. Everybody's on Sam Laporta, and I would much prefer Kittle. I don't care that he's almost double the price. I think Kittle has a way bigger ceiling. He's been way more consistent all season long. Both are in tough matchups, but I think Kittle is just more of a difference maker than Laporta. And more needed on this offense. Because Ayuk is out, because Debo's not having the best season, it really comes down to George Kittle, and I love the spot for him. Sam Laporta, we have seen him bounce back recently. So since week 8, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll give him last week as 5 games of 15 plus. He had 14 and change last week. So he's been much better before week 8, before they started getting him more involved. 12 was the highest we saw. So he is more involved now, but he's just not as involved. And this 49ers team has been very tough versus the tight end. 37.3 yards per game to the tight end, 0.2 touchdowns. Opponent rank is 3. They have been solid. If we go to the team defense tool, Kittle's 16th, or the Lions are 16th, and San Francisco is 8th versus the tight end. So Kittle has the better matchup. Sam Laporta is going to struggle, or has the harder matchup, and he's coming in at higher owned. Give me the pay up to get different spot in Kittle, and I will take that all day. Brock Wright does sprinkle in a little bit on the team, so you can use Wright. Just understand that he is touchdown or bust. He's had, 3 games this season where he got it going, but only 2 touchdowns on the year. If he doesn't get in the end zone, he's likely not going to be usable. Saubert is on the field a little bit. He did have a touchdown last week, but this is another one, touchdown or bust, but he's on the field less than Brock Wright. So Brock Wright is the more likely one to really have a chance to be optimal. Getting over to the defenses, look, nobody wants to play the Lions offense. This 49ers defense is good, though, and 3,400 is very cheap. I don't mind taking some swings. We've seen Jared Goff throw interceptions this year. It can happen. $3,400 for the skill level of this 49ers D is too cheap, but you got a 50.5 total. The likelihood of the 49ers defense being optimal is low. You're going to need a special teams play or Jared Goff just really being off of his game. On the Lions side, 4,400 games at home. There's no Trent Williams. Makes this offensive line much, much worse. If the Lions can get after the quarterback a little bit, I think they have a path. But this Lions defense has been very, very, very beat up. And even against Chicago, they're only able to get 7 and 6. 7 versus Indy. I don't see a huge path for the Lions D. And I would really just rather play either the 49ers D or none at all. On the kicker side, both kickers need to be considered. We got a 50.5 total. Means there's going to be scoring in this game. Likelihood is that one or both of these kickers get into the double digits. Jake Moody's averaging 8.8 a game, while Bates is averaging 9.5. Bates is the better on the paper play. Ownership is also going there. He's also more expensive. Moody has just as good of a shot to have some outlier performance, though, and I'd be fine using Moody. The only thing with him is that his normal score is much less than Bates. Bates is consistently around 10, where Moody's consistently like 6 or 7. So Bates is the safer play. But Moody has had the higher upside so far this year. Do with that information what you will, but good luck today, guys. That'll wrap us up for today. Let's win some money. Good luck, and hope you guys end week 17 strong. See you guys later. Peace.